Hello and welcome. This is Inside Sources, and my name is Laolu Akonde. First, I want to condole with the people of Ibadan, Oyo State, which is where I come from, on the explosion that occurred earlier this week. We hope that this kind of situation will be avoided in the future, and we send our prayers to all the families and the people that are involved. And here is my take for the week. In the FCT earlier and recently, there is this story about the kidnappers who went into an estate and abducted a family. They later released the father to go fend for ransom. But perhaps because they thought it was delaying, they killed the first daughter of the family. This is so heart-rending. It turns out now that people are coming together online to crowdsource funding for the ransom. Now, if this does not break your heart, I don't know what else will break your heart. We've gotten to the situation where people are now meeting the dastardly demands of criminals just so they can sustain their security. This sounds more like a jungle. And this is not a jungle. This is the Federal Republic of Nigeria, where we have the instrument of force and coercion. Time has come, Mr. President, to declare an all-out war against every act of criminality in this country. Time has come to have a special intervention force to deal with this situation. Time has come to have a standard operating procedure where there will be a short response time from the security agencies. Time has come to ensure by all means that there is effective funding of the police and the NSCDC especially to deal with what is becoming a troubling phenomenon in our country. We trust and believe that Mr. President and his heads, the Inspector General of Police and the head of the Commandant General of the NSCDC will rise up to the situation, and everyone that is involved in the security architecture of this country. We cannot afford to have a situation where this kind of criminality is being encouraged by people who have no other choice but raise ransom online. Lastly, the former Minister for Digital Economy, Communications and Digital Economy, Professor Isaac Pantami, has actually claimed that security agencies are not using the technology that is linked to the NIN to track the criminals. How is this possible? We hope the security agencies have an explanation for this kind of situation. And we are trusting and believing the federal government of Nigeria that all of these kind of sad stories will soon become a thing of the past. Inside Sources, we'll be right back. We continue our conversations on the future of Nigeria. Today, I have another eminent Nigerian, somebody that I could describe as a doctor turned politician, who has been in the game of politics even earlier than 1999 when he became the Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly. He proceeded from there to become a Senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and served 2 terms, and also later became a federal minister serving in the Ministry of Health and later in the Ministry of Science and Technology. I have the pleasure to welcome Dr. Adeleke Olorunimbe Mamora. You are welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Lord. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for coming to Inside Sources. So we started a conversation on the future of Nigeria. And one of the first questions that I ask my guests is, do you think that the path, the trajectory of our nation is going the right direction? Are we moving towards that greater Nigeria of our dreams as things stand today?
Well, once again, thank you for inviting me. I will say we are. And in saying that, I'm persuaded by my own conviction that democracy or democratic journey does not have a destination, because it's a process. And when you look at countries that have been at it for centuries, for so many years, much longer than ours, they cannot still say they are there, because it's a process that, I mean, it's self-refining. And then you take on board the experiences of the past and even of the present to shape the future. So, and in terms of my own conviction, I said, I believe we're on the right course. Let's just take it even from 1999. What you discover is that from 1999, all the presidents that have been elected, from the Obasanjo era to Yaradua, to Jonathan, to President Buhari, and now to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, all of them, you see, they usually come to, to the scene with best intentions. And where you can now interrogate whether those best intentions have been actualized or not. But then, I give it to all of them in terms of what each of these past presidents achieved, even starting from President Obasanjo, and then, of course, you may have its issues, but then he had his own achievements. And when President Yaradua came on board, you saw, with coming in with amnesty and all that, and you see, one of the most contentious issues, even under the Obasanjo era, was the withholding of the funds to the local government.
Well, before we get that far.
I'm just saying that when you look at this, authorized the payment and all that. Now, go to Yaradua era, the amnesty thing that went a long way to soften the security situation. Then President Jonathan will be remembered for being that president who voluntarily, accepted defeat even before the election was formally declared.
So when we say that we are on the right trajectory, we need to also look at some of the contending issues.
Yes.
So look at the level of poverty. More than 30% of our people, if not, there are even estimates that are higher than that, are multidimensionally poor. Okay? Now, there are several other issues. People have also raised concerns about the structure itself. That maybe there is still a lot of powers in the center, and also, the issue of devolving all over even to the local government. But particularly in the area of the impact in the life of the people, there's no way, Doctor, you are a senator and former minister, there's no way if we go out there, people will say, we agree with you and I, that we are on course. So my question is, if we are not on course, when are we going to be able to convince the masses out there that, look, this thing is going well?
Okay, yes. When we say, are we on course? I was looking at the general democratic process, as a whole. And what do I mean? You look at the pillars of democracy itself, in terms of vibrant press, in terms of very robust judiciary, the institutions in the system, the police, the army, the civil service, and all that. Because all these are components. And of course, probably very, very important, again, is the orderly succession through free, fair, and transparent election. And all these are important, very, very critical. They are pillars of the democratic process. Now, back to the issue of the multidimensional poverty and all that. Yes, don't forget, the Constitution under Section 14 says security and welfare shall be the primary purpose of government. You see, whether we like it or not, the Constitution has defined it in terms of the primary purpose, security. We still have challenges with security, no doubt about that. And that has also contributed to multidimensional poverty, you said, because if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, of course, shelter, if people are displaced from their community and all that, and they are struggling with shelter, that would be a factor in the multidimensional poverty. If they cannot go to the farms to till the ground, and that will also cause, there cannot be production in terms of, and hunger is something that has to be correct. And when you have food available, then you will have reduced hunger to a barest minimum. So there is no way that you won't take all these things, in a holistic manner. So, but at the same time, my own take is that, yes, security and welfare is a big issue. Yeah, it encompasses everything from banishing hunger to banishing poverty to healthcare and all that. Because these are the things. These are issues of welfare. Even then, the transportation, of course, the infrastructure, all this, the totality of this, because you cannot isolate these things. Right. It's a complex, So, now, and gradually, I know that the previous administration and the present administration, they are doing the best they can to really confront the issue of this insecurity in its various forms, whether terrorism, banditry, armed robbery, name it. They are all, they are all siblings, if you like. So, and these things have to be taken care of in a holistic manner. Right. Then we can address all these other issues.
Right. Okay, and thank you. So, as members of a political elite, which you are eminently a member of the political elite, I'm sure, some will even say, I also belong to that. How much responsibility do you think the political elite should take in terms of where the country is today? How much, because you have arguments, people say, oh yeah, the people also. But in your view, how much responsibility, who should take the bigger brunt of the blame? The political elite or the people?
It is the political elite. I don't have any argument about that. It's the political elite. Because it's the political elite that jostle for power. And you see, I think it's Shakespeare in Macbeth said, to be thus is nothing, but to be safely thus. So when you now get that power, what do you do with it? That is the question. And that is why it's the political elite that must be squarely held responsible.
But do you
because it's the leadership that charts the course for the people. I'm not saying that take the issue of security, for example. Yeah. We say security is everybody's business. Yeah. But the leadership still has the duty to chart their course. We must interrogate stewardship. And linked to that is accountability. People must be accountable by way of their stewardship, not just financial accountability alone. Stewardship, that is, you must be able to answer for what you did or what you failed to do when you had the opportunity to do it.
Now, so yes. in what way specifically, I'm sorry to interrupt, in what way specifically do you think that can be further enhanced? You know, we have a situation where many people will contend that even our electoral system is a little bit jaundiced, you know. But in your own view, how can the people hold? What else can we do to get the people to hold the leadership to accountability? And I dare say, before you respond, that we can't only blame the political elites. I like the fact that you considered that the political elite must take the blame because they are the ones that justify power. But there are other sections of the society. For instance, look at what is happening in many of our religious centers. There is this tendency towards, look, everything is a miracle, that which has some very serious application. I'm a pastor myself, but it has now reduced the people to just expecting, wonders without hard work. So I say that to say that it's not just the political elites, but the political elites, yes, hold the bigger brunt. So my question is, what else can we do as a people to bring our elites to more accountability? If you have any ideas, Doctor.
Right. I'm happy you mentioned, you see, last week, some people described last week or last Friday, specifically, as the day of judgment, where the Supreme Court, it came in forcefully to right certain wrongs at the lower level of the court. But I will call that particular day as the day of reckoning. And I must commend the justices of the Supreme Court in the landmark decisions. And you recall that the judiciary, through the Supreme Court, had some hard knocks, even for some of their colleagues at the lower level, from the tribunal to appeal court. The case where the governor was returned by the Supreme Court on the basis that the lower court erred by not taking on board an already decided issue. That is, people should not be seen to be acting as meddlesome interloper, where you did not participate in a primary. You are not even from the party. Somebody from outside of the party now, pontificating and they're taking case to court. But the tragedy there is that, yes, the governor's election was redeemed and his mandate returned. Yeah. But for those that have suffered the same fate at the lower level, what happens? Because they had been sacked from the State House of Assembly and the National Assembly, Senate and House of Reps. What happens? Do they just go and be licking their wounds? So there must be a way to ensure that justice. So what I'm trying to say about we should always ensure that justice is meted out. And where wrongs are established, it must be corrected, and then we must make examples out of people.
Let's look at the last 8 years of the APC. You were the Deputy Director General of the Buhari Oshibajo campaign in 2015.
Yeah. And in 2019 as well.
2019, yeah, exactly. Now, and everybody in this country, will not forget that the APC came in promising change.
Yeah.
The president specifically said he was interested in tackling corruption, tackling insecurity, and of course, fixing the economy.
Yeah.
Now, 8 years after, there are many who argue very stridently that this has not happened. Now, it is true that the insecurity in the Northeast has eased up, but seemed to have moved elsewhere.
Yeah.
And then the question of corruption. Look at the report of the Central Bank special investigator. Look at the damning allegations. Now, Do you think that the APC has delivered on all of its promises for change, especially in the area of security and in the area of corruption?
Well,
do you think they have delivered?
I believe that, yes, to a large extent, APC did. And, but whether what we delivered was good enough to the people out there is another thing. But having said that, let me say that, you see, I was going to say earlier, you stopped me then, the President Buhari, as the president for the past 8 years, was the chief priest of change, the change mantra, as we had it. And we have analyzed what he came on board with. But in addition to all that, I had privilege, as it were, to espouse on this concept of change itself, which essentially, is hinged on three things. Rebuild. No, the first thing is the rebirth.
Right. Of
the country.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Rebirth, rebuild, and restore. We need to, and when we say rebirth, well, we share the same faith, unless you are born again. So all of us, as a people,
yes,
we need to have a change in attitude. To have, I'm happy you've mentioned this gullibility of our people, now looking for miracles without work. Faith, as they say, without work,
it's empty.
It's empty. So it's good to pray. It's good to, yes, I also believe in God. But you must walk. There has to be work. And that work is what we all need to do, not just to go to prayer houses, whether as a Muslim or as a Christian, and just be praying without work. Nothing will happen. It's deceit. But people, you see, the mind has been corrupted as to believe in some of this. So there has to be national rebirth. Two is now rebuild. I mentioned earlier on, what are we rebuilding? Dilapidated structures, institutions, because institutions make the system.
Right.
So you have to, our police, our judiciary, our legislature, and all these institutions, we need to rebuild them.
Right.
To be what? Because a lot of institutions have failed in terms of expectation of people.
Right.
And then the third thing is restoration. What are we restoring? Values. The value system has been totally decimated. You now see youth going into all sorts of rituals because they want to get rich and all that. These are part of, and these are the issues that I believe the church in particular and the religious institutions must address.
The church is the mosque and other religious institutions.
That's what I'm saying. They must address this and stop all this, miracle. I'm not saying miracles don't occur, but it should not be the first thing. Look at, I commend what our youth are doing, especially in the area of the music, entertainment, and all that. They are doing a lot. They are doing it all. We just have to harness these good sides, these positive sides of what our youth are doing, harness them, and build these things up, and earn so much from all this.
Excellent, excellent. So let's move to the issue of the local government, which is also very intertwined with the concept of the future of Nigeria. Now, in your view, what do you think is the most responsible factor in what has become the complete, almost emasculation of governance at local government level? Do you think that governors have a role to play? Dr. Mamora, do you think governors have a role to play in this matter?
If I will be very frank, probably, if I will be very frank, the governors, they are the ones that destroy local government. That is the truth. Because what do you now have? You see, don't forget, I was very much involved.
Yeah. Yeah, you are the chairman of the Conference of Speakers in 1999.
The local governments that existed under Abdulsalami administration in 1998, that was when the local governments were elected. The local government's chairman. Okay?
Yeah.
With a 3-year tenure, which should terminate in 2001.
Yeah.
3 years. But what did we see? Towards the end of the termination of the tenure, the local government chairman under aegis of ALGON, Association of Local Government of Nigeria, they started making moves to the National Assembly then, headed by Ayim Pius Ayim, as Senate President, and Gali Nahaba of blessed memory as the Speaker.
Speaker of the House.
They were asking for the extension of their tenure to be 4 years, in line with the states and the federal. That was the beginning. So, of course, I was the chairman of the Conference of Speakers of State Houses of Assembly at that time, in 2001. So, we challenged it. We had a meeting of speakers. We challenged it because Section 7 of the Constitution had placed everything in the local government under the state through laws made by the State House of Assembly. So we challenged it that no, it was like wanting to, usurp the powers of the state assemblies, because already the bill was at the National Assembly. In fact, the Committee on Local Governments of the Senate, they came to Lagos to meet with the speakers of the Southwest. And we made it clear at that meeting that no, don't go there. But they went ahead trying to, so we went to court at my instance. We went to court, and while the case was on in court, because of the interest of the governors, they came in to join, and because they joined, the case was taken straight to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court ruled that the National Assembly had no business. No powers to. They had no business in determining the tenure. So President Obasanjo then, and that's one of the things I was referring to earlier, at least one of the good things that he did, he invited all speakers to the villa and spoke with us, appealed to us that in the circumstances, because their tenure was then about ending, and new local government chairmen were yet to be elected. That was why he then persuaded us that each state should go and put in place at least a kind of stopgap measure situation.
That led to...
That was what led to the states making laws for caretaker committees, which was supposed to be a temporary thing to take care of that lacuna. That is, the tenure of the local governments finishing and the new ones have not yet been elected. So that was the genesis of caretaker committees, which the state governments, and specifically the governments now, they are now abusing. You now see caretaker committees
all over the place.
That was supposed to have been just an interim measure, which in itself now contravenes Section 7 of the Constitution, because it talks of democratically elected. But now, that is what happens.
Now,
and then that's the first, that's what I said, it should be put at the doorpost of the governor. Now, so what fall out from that is you hardly have elections taking place
in local government.
I call them governors link men. In most of the states, they are just governors link men to the grassroots. Because most of the states, tell me, do you have any state that have organized local government election under the aegis of State Independent Electoral Commission where any other party, apart from has won even a seat as councillor?
That would be very rare to find.
I'm not sure there is any. So it has not. So now, then the issue of funding, there had been allegations from several states that governors were not allowing the money appropriated to the local government to get to them. Allegations, like I said.
Yeah.
Well,
it's widespread.
Good. So there are allegations. So that's why I said this is. And then the fourth factor is the quality of people being Because it's, in most cases, it's not based on competitive process. It's just a matter of, look, who smiles most to me among these people? So yeah, you go and you go and take charge of that. Yeah. So these are the issues. Therefore, they can no longer, and of course, the fifth factor is the funding. The funding is poor. So they can no longer...
The funding is poor by the reason of the allocation itself or by the reason of the disbursement.
So that's why they say it's a gamut of... Because when you look at Section 162 of the Constitution, it says the money allocated will be disbursed to the local government in a manner prescribed by the State House of Assembly. And then the issue of the State House of Assembly, are they really... most of the states, I'm sorry to say, now they are also under the hammer of either the state governors or some remote godfather somewhere.
Interesting.
So these are the issues.
Very, very, very important. Thank you
that have made it extremely difficult for the local governments. They are good men there that are capable, brilliant.
Yeah.
And then, so we need to look at all this. That's why I say it's a gamut of factors. Competent people, very creative, because when you don't have enough resources, then you have to be creative. And then the other thing, again, is the bureaucracy. For example, I will tell you, as the risk of being attacked out there, I don't see reason why we should have a separate legislature at the local government. Because I would prefer a kind of parliamentary system at the local government where the chairman can sit in council with the council and then put in place their bylaws. Rather than, because when in some states now, you see chairmen having chief of staff, you see even councillors having special assistants. So at the end of the day, so much money.
It's the same mentality of job for the boys that cascades from the federal down. But just because of our time, I have one last question that I want to pose to you, Doctor. I mean, you have served in the Senate. You served also in the Assembly. So you are quite attuned with the issue of lawmaking. Do you think that we need to have a more deepened electoral reforms? And I say that because I think it was 2007, after the election of President Yar'Adua, there was quite a lot of noise, and he came and said, look, we need to fix our electoral system. And he actually went ahead to do the reforms. Do you think President Tinubu should further electoral reforms in the circumstances of the country today?
Well, I think so. You see, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is occupying, at this time in history of our country, a unique position. What do I mean? When you look at the pedigree of all the other presidents in terms of political exposure, experience, and all that, I think he stands tall. His struggles in the Nadeco days, I'd say, democracy, activists, and all that, and then what he did in Lagos and all that. So much, people look up to him so much in terms of what is expected. We cannot run away from this issue of what I would call, well, people call it true federalism, but essentially what we are talking about is devolution of powers. We need to, they need to devolve more powers to the states and the local governments to function effectively. Too much powers, have been concentrated at the center.
Well, how does that connect to electoral reforms?
Yeah, it's part of it.
Okay, can you,
it's part of it. The electoral reform is critical. Yes, because I did mention earlier on that when you talk of pillars of democracy,
right,
orderly succession through free and fair
elections.
That is critical. So, therefore, we have to look at, and in doing this, it is not just about the executive. The judiciary is key because the judiciary exists through the court. One of the ways of achieving change in a society is through laws. But it's not enough for the laws to be there, but the laws must be respected. For example, you see, I have argued this. We don't need more than maybe about three to five parties. All these other parties that are just...
You don't think that two parties actually ideal?
Seriously, in fact, I just try to modify myself. What I have always advocated is two-party system. But if people say, okay, let's give it maybe a third one,
right.
The fewer the parties, the better for the system. We have seen situations where some, fringe parties will just come and then they will say maybe they were missed out on the ballot, and that will nullify the entire thing. We shouldn't allow that. Let's look at the realities of our own situation. I will readily support a situation of the two-party system. I mean, let me be frank with you.
Quite a lot of things to unpack, Dr. Mamora, but our time is fast spent.
I know.
I know that this is a discussion, that we have to come back to at some point. So I thank you for your views and thank you for coming. Hopefully we will be able to take this further another time. Well, that is it with Dr. Mamora.
Thank you very much.
Inside Sources will be right back. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. Before I introduce my next guest, let's look at this viral video.
Àwọn condition tí mo bá ní council lánàá kò múnú mi dùn rárá. Ó wà pathetic. Lákọ̀ọ́kọ́, kò sí transition committee tí wọ́n set up láti welcome mi. Ó yẹ kí àwọn set up committee kémi náà set up committee káwo the situation of ground and what is on ground and bí tí wọ́n bá ṣe dé as I'm speaking to you kò sí kankan bẹ́ẹ̀. Then lẹ́yìn ìgbà yẹn no official handing over. Ó lè má yí ẹni tó kúrò mẹ́ẹ̀ my predecessor bẹ́ẹ̀ ó yẹ kó lè yé career officers very quite unfortunate. Then eléyìí tó wá bà mí lẹ́rù jù. The local government has 3 accounts. One, the running account. The second one is allocation account. And the IGR, very, very unfortunate. I did not meet a dime. Wọ́n ní èlò ló wà ní account mẹ́tẹ̀ẹ̀ta tẹ́ ẹ rán wọ́n ní kò sówó ń bẹ̀. Empty treasury ni mo bá lánàá. Very, very quite unfortunate.
To discuss the problems in the local government and other issues around the political situation in our country, I have today somebody who was formerly the Director General of the Progressive Governors Forum and who recently was actually the National Vice Chairman of the All Progressive Congress. I'd like to welcome Malam Saliu Lukman.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome to Inside Sources.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for coming.
Thank you.
So that video basically is a new chairman of a local government in Ikere West of Ekiti State, lamenting that there is nothing on the ground, that when they got there, there was absolutely no resources. There are 3 accounts and all of them are empty. The cars are run down. The whole place is decrepit. Malam, you have been the Director General of the Progressive Governors Forum. I'm just going to ask you a very direct question, and you can take it away from there. Is it true that the governors are emasculating local government administration in Nigeria?
Well, I don't think it's something that we need to pretend. There is clearly a very fundamental problem there. And part of it, if you follow the debate from 1999 up to this period, the major issue is the management of what the Constitution provides as joint account. And under that, local governments are forced into projects by state governments, and their allocation from federation account get to be mismanaged. And frankly speaking, we tend to, in terms of the cry about problems with government, we tend to concentrate so much on federal government. And it will appear from 1999 to now there is a lot of progress that has been made at federal level. Of course, a lot more need to be done. A lot more progress is desired. But at state and local government level, there is still a lot that needs to be done. I tell you, when during the negotiation to form the APC,
Right.
the whole inspiration to have progressive governance forum was basically informed by some commitment to ensure that there is some difference. And in the context of that was about pushing the states that are controlled under the APC to have common policy approach and common strategy. I must admit, not much progress has been achieved. We have made a lot of effort bringing secretaries to government to do what can be regarded as peer review and land-based practice initiative. I remember from the beginning, around 2015, 2014, the model of Lagos State Security Trust Fund became an issue. Another model, I can't remember from which state, about how to manage issues of education initiative were also adopted. Model of legislation were also, prototype legislation were developed, you know. But because we were not able to get the party to buy in, we are not able to get the party to develop the capacity to really manage governance in such a way that they are regulated to carry out policies that the party want them to carry. Those are some of the gaps. And for me, look, I keep making the point, the major challenge we face is not the outcry about changing leaders. The major challenge is really to get our party functional in such a way that anybody elected under a party, the party had the capacity to regulate the initiative and the conduct of the official. All these things we are talking about will continue unless we strengthen the structures of the political party.
But who are they? I mean, at the risk of sounding repetitive, and the governors, the ones that are also in both major parties, you know, and they're the ones that are also resisting what seems to be the superiority of the parties.
Look, you see, let's go back. I keep dragging us back to how we got to where we are. If you remember between 1999 and 2003, to be fair to PDP, the governors don't have the kind of power they wielded, you know. Somehow the party was really in charge. Meetings, if you remember, we used to see the organs of PDP, Board of Trustees, National Executive Council meeting regularly.
That was when? That was in 1999?
Between 1999 and 2003.
Okay.
I think where we started having problem was the transition, the second era, the whole negotiation to emerge as candidate for 2003 election. And how Obasanjo, if you remember, we were told, had to, and at that time, somehow the vice president was the coordinating person with the governors. It's like he had stronger relationship with governors.
Yes.
And they pulled the string in such a way that Obasanjo almost lost the ticket.
And that story.
When eventually he got it, he had to now take steps to ensure that all the structures of the party are subordinated under him. That is when the story, if you remember, that is when you begin to say loyalty has to be 100%. There cannot be 99% loyalty, you know. And that was when, for instance, the whole thing about being the leader of the party begin to be emphasized. And through that, governors also said they are leaders of the party at state level. And those are some of the things that created the whole mismanagement of the electoral process in 2007, whereby, if you remember, internally within PDP, no primary took place. If you have relationship with the party leadership at national level, you just imagine there was a story of many people who bought the forms And before they got there, they were told the primary year has been concluded. And that became the model. So when in 2011, 2013, the whole negotiation to merge started, the expectation of Nigeria and the expectation of many of us in the opposition parties was that this model is going to be changed, And to be fair to our leaders, they made all the sacrifices at the beginning. I think where we started losing it was the whole management of the victory in 2015. Somehow, everybody became more interested in question of appointment, and what have you. And that was how the party got lost.
I still want us to look at that local government situation, because just from what that new chairman was lamenting, it just shows that the whole thing is just dead. So the question is, what has to happen to bring life back to the local government? Because we're talking about insecurity, we're talking about unemployment. Those are the places where these things are really taking place.
Let me be honest with you. If we are expecting there can be a decision that will be taken and everything will fall in place, we will be making a lot of mistakes. It's a whole lot of processes that has to be put in place. The rot, like you said, is really deep, no doubt about it. The same local government chairman you saw, part of the reason why he has to do that is there is a lot of expectation around, and expectation not in terms of physical development, expectation in terms of patronage. So which is about dispensing resources.
So the man had to say, hey,
look, there is nothing here. So I think, for me, my argument is that we have to return almost to the same mode between 2012 and 2013 when we were negotiating to get our leaders to merge our opposite legacy parties. We have to return to the same mode and begin to negotiate, look, what do we need to do? We should leave a legacy in terms of really justifying, first, why did we fight to get the military out of government? Two, why did we have to push our leaders, including himself and President Buhari, to make all the sacrifices they made, to get all our opposition parties from the national level, the leadership from national level down to world level, to make all the sacrifices, including relinquishing their position, in order to have APC formed. Why did we have to struggle? Why didn't we allow, what do you call it in APC before the last election about succession? Consensus. Why didn't we allow consensus? Why did we have, and you and I know we had to fight to get Aswaju win the ticket. Now, having won the ticket, it shouldn't be business as usual. For instance, if under former President Buhari, the whole report of the True Federalism report, the committee of the party led by Nasru El-Rufai, and I am a member of that committee, I know when it was an honest work that was done. It was not even to discuss opinion of leaders. It was just to go out there and find out what do people think and put them on a weight and then begin to think in terms of the option. And we put the option on the table, including draft legislative bill. Taking it forward will have been, for instance,
sorry for butting in. What do you think was responsible for that report not being implemented so far?
Like I argue in several of my writing, I think somehow the conservative bloc within the APC tend to have their way. They have the sophisticated skills to ensure that what they don't like, and sometimes what they don't like is not a reflection of any danger, even to themselves. It's just a reflection that we are not comfortable, we don't know it.
So the conservative bloc in your estimation, is it in the executive or in the legislative arm?
They are everywhere. They are everywhere. And this is part of my frustration with APC. I expected that we will encourage a lot of debate inside APC. And when meetings are not taking place, no debate take place.
Anyway,
It's all a question of scheming to get positions, scheming to emerge as candidate, even when elections are not taking place, and we can't make progress in a democracy.
Like that.
Like that.
Which is why, I should ask you this question because our time is fast spent. So, just like you said, in 2013, 2014, up to 2015, you had essentially two figures, that's former President Buhari and now President Tinubu, come together leading a coalition that produced APC and, sold a change agenda to the Nigerian people who voted out an incumbent government. 8 years after, what do you think how will you assess the impact of that promise and the fact that there has been 8 years already in the life of the people?
Look, I want to be very, very kind to former President Buhari. I think one of the things that can be easily said we have made progress is the fact that the incidences of electoral manipulation has drastically reduced from what it was before 2015. It has drastically reduced, no doubt about it. Where there are gaps is the capacity of our democracy to produce leaders that are truly accountable to citizens. Accountability in terms of being responsive to the needs of citizens and also be representative of the interests of citizens. There is wide gap. And for me, I think is also a reflection of how we prioritize the whole issue of election without looking at the structure or the institution that should drive government after election. And that institution is the political party. I have, in recent time, in the last 1-2 years, shift a lot in terms of my advocacy. My advocacy is more now in terms of what we need to do as a nation to really reform our political parties. And I keep taking us back to the Always Committee report, which recommended unbundling INEC. And one of the structures to emerge out of the unbundled INEC should be the Political Party Regulatory Commission. Because right now, what we have, none of our party is functioning. I keep making this point, APC inclusive, because our structures, National Executive Committee, the last time it met was in August. It's supposed to be meeting every quarter. Now we are almost into 6 months. It has not met, and there is no...
The Constitution actually stipulated that.
It is stipulated that. National Advisory Council, which is like the Board of Trustees, it has not been inaugurated. How many years? Since 2013. Not even one meeting of National Advisory Council. National Caucus doesn't meet. And National Caucus can meet even on a weekly basis. Because, that is actually the structure that should be advisory, because it's just to sample opinion and get all leaders to guide decision. And when they give their guide, the guide go to organ that should take the necessary decision. It doesn't meet. We have formed structures like Women Wing, Youth Wing. They are supposed to have their constitution, which will not be in conflict with the constitution of the party. But till today, nothing has been done. So I keep making the point that, sincerely speaking, the fundamental issue, which is what I expect from President Asuwaju as the leader of our party, to really take the necessary step to ensure that the structures of it's not just about, and which is my frustration after we fought to really get Abdoulaye Adamu and Sentuelo Omishore out of the leadership of the party. It's not just about getting them out. It's about taking the right step to ensure that these structures function so that anybody, not just Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, anybody who come should be able to work based on the provision of the constitution of the party.
Okay.
Once we are not able to do that, we'll continue to have all the problems, including the problem of local government you are talking about. Governance will continue to exercise powers,
insecurity,
arbitrary
corruption.
Because we will not be able to implement the policy. If you remember, a lot of our frustration under former President Buhari was that we will see security agencies are not doing their work. We can't even influence him to fire them. You know, this was our frustration, but good enough that appeared to be changing under President Asuwaju.
Okay.
You know, once, I mean, the last thing was suspending the minister for alleged corruption. We have not had that. So we have to support President Asuwaju to really take a number of some of the decisive action that will help move us toward deeper political reform in the country.
Thank you so much, Malam. And of course, you know, we were both at the launching of the books this week where former President Buhari said that he was restating his apologies for whatever things that anyone that did wrong. And of course, President Tinubu himself was saying that he was inheriting both the assets
and the liabilities,
of his predecessor. So we just hope that, you know, just like we've discussed today, that President Tinubu will take this thing forward so that people can remember that when the two of them came together, they tried to fix Nigeria. That legacy is now in the hands of the president. Thank you so much, Madam, for coming. And thank you for being very outspoken. You know, I admire your boldness. And we do need, you know, loud voices to speak courageously.
Thank you.
That will be it this week on Inside Sources. I will be back next week with another exciting edition. Thank you for watching. I am Laolu Akonde.